Normally known for Formula One, it's quickly becoming a quick home for GT, touring car, endurance cars. But either way, Operation eMotorsport comes to Imola, right in the heart of Italy, and I cannot wait to bring you the live coverage. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching us around the world here on Race Spot TV. My name is Jeremy Scott. Jonathan Burke is alongside me with Ramiro Augustine Cisneros, plugging all the plugs and the wires and making it sound oh so good. Jonathan, this is one of those tracks where it doesn't matter what you race in. If you can race to Autodromo Internazionale in Enzo Ferrari, you can race basically anywhere here.
It's such a unique track. It's a very technical track. There's a lot of tight corners, a lot of downhill and uphill braking. So it's such a fun place to drive, and it's something that, like, really, if you turn quick laps here, you can turn quick laps in other series and other tracks.
Well, the cars are off qualifying. Let's take a look at season 13. Just got off of Daytona. Now we're over in Imola in a couple weeks' time. We'll be at Fuji, Spa, Monza, Le Mans, and Silverstone. This year's Operation eMotorsports League Series really hits the best of the best, and we have the best of the best all throughout the championship as we take a look at the point standings after just one round. Now, it doesn't mean too much, obviously, because of the simple fact of we've run one round. Mitch Herrick, your winner in the open class last time out. Joshua Muir, Nathan Rondon, Andrew Cooper, and Peter Heitzman round out your top five. And, of course, everybody down to Raymond Sampson. They're scoring points as Narano and Sampson both have 4 points. Making our way next over to the, I pulled my notes as well, as we take a look at the beneficiary class. You've got John May, Cayman Lackney, Scotty Andrews, Chandler Baker, Joey Lamb rounding out your top five there. A couple of names that we don't expect near the bottom. Damian Castro, he's usually middle of the pack, though. Rough outing last time out at the high banks of Daytona. Also, Brian Rodriguez. Good to see him in there as well. Let's take a look at the pro standings. Justin Bissett, Martin Wallace, Tyler Clement, Tyler Manning, and Zachary Beige. Names we expect to see there all in the top five. And last but not least, you got your Pro Ben with Nolan Uke, Louis Rios, Brandon Mateo, Justin Knoll, Chance Sheffield, and John Salata. As you see in the upper left-hand side of your screen, we're about 12 and a half minutes into qualifying. But let's talk a little bit about the different classes here, especially this season, because we're not really running what we saw last season with the prototypes per se and the GT cars all together. Right now, you do see you are seeing these GT cars out there on the circuit. So one thing I've got to say, Jonathan, that I love about Operation eMotorsport is it brings all sorts of types together, whether they're veterans or those who are trying to help them get a job here, as we see Axel Carballo in the #1 Track Fiends Mercedes making his way out of Tamburello.
And something like I took away, because we were just talking before we came on, like I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's a place where we have a lot of active military, a lot of veterans. So the camaraderie and just bringing people on and coaching them together and the community around it is something really special. And seeing that in action in racing, I think, is also really special. So having a kind of a league of their own where everyone can learn at their own pace and also still be fun and competitive is really cool to see.
And of course, it's neat to see, the camaraderie even off the track as well. Doing this broadcast, we have the opportunity to be in the Discord, and we'll see where drivers like, hey, I'm going to this race, or hey, I'm working with this team this weekend, or oh, hey, I saw so and so, turning wrenches with this car. So it's not just we're here to iRace. We're here to support one another. When we get to the interviews, that's what's going to make things just a little bit hard. There are going to be some very fast drivers that we're not used to not seeing in the field. As Mitch Herrick comes across the line, 41,910. I know Jason McSparron said he's not going to be in the field. Let's see. There was another one that kind of surprised me, but it is what it is. There's a couple of good drivers who are not going to be here. I think Elias Roman was one of the ones who said he wasn't going to be in as well, but I think tonight we're having a stout field regardless.
Yeah, I think some were having some weather issues if they're up in the northeast of the U.S. Got some severe weather. Others, we have other engagements, but there are drops in the points, and that's what's nice about the way the point system works here. Is you do get 2 drops, so 1 missed round not going to be too big of a deal, I think, for those drivers.
Of course, take a look at the bottom part of your screen. That's where all the info regarding the different classes, where you can catch live timing, and everything that is related to this Operation eMotorsport League, including the upcoming schedule. Michael Opatic, who's sitting right now on his flyer lap, that's Supreme number 60. Down in and around, probably one of my favorite sections of any motorsport is this one right here, because if you have an apartment, you're going to have your balcony pointed out towards the racetrack. Is there anything better than that?
I don't think there's any better view in that corner, and especially since it's such a nice, sweet set of corners that when you get it right and get that run down to turn 1, it just feels like, I'm really setting the pace here. I'm really doing a good lap time. It was an okay lap time by the 60s. We now see the McLaren. I was on the spot 24 hour, and we didn't have any Mercedes in the top split. We didn't have any McLarens in the top split. It's nice to see the other GT3 cars.
Yeah, no, yeah, you get different GT3 cars. They said Cam Jordan right there, making his way into Tamburello out of Variante Bassa. And there's Nicholas Peck in the ever so beautiful 992 Porsche, making his way into, I should say, through Tosa, and you go up the hill to Puretella. Yeah, it's such a amazing track, and I think it's going to produce some great racing. Taking a look at the field right now, as we take a look qualifying as it is, your top 4 all within a second, and you got to go back to about Marco Naranjo to 0.6 of a second behind in that 5th spot.
The interesting thing here is since they're all we have 4 different classes, but they're all GT3. We're gonna have kind of a little bit of a field split here, because that 15 car, his nearest technically classmate is down 7th overall. So that's gonna be interesting to look at when we come down to the start.
Nolan Rios, Nolan Youth, I'm not too worried about having him that far back. Justin Bissett, though, and Justin Knoll deciding to call time on that. Cam and Lackney also sitting there. Batista to 5th with 41.817. That's out of the number 67, and he's going to call time on that session as well. What does Peck do as he trips the line? 48.409. So that's not good enough to get him into the top 10, but Elias Roman, we always know how quick that he is in the number 99, proving me wrong. He's not going to be here, but Roman trying to set a flyer lap. He's working his way now through Variante Alta. Going to run down the stretch, and yeah, that is definitely Variante Alta. Going to head through Ravazza in just a little bit of time and set himself up for the long run down Variante Bassa. You're on board with Roman.
Trying to take as much curb as you can, especially in these GT3 cars, because they can take it out of these corners. It's such a tight racetrack, so you need to make use of all the space that the track gives you.
And that was good enough for 9th fastest, 42.024.
Solid
Kirk
lap time so far.
Let's say Kirk calls time on his session as well, 42.337. Here's Garrett Wickham in the 555.
And that top split of the spot 24, I didn't see much of these Porsches. There's only one in the field. They're kind of, when I was doing a little bit of research with the GTEs and testing a few of them, the Porsche just seems a little twitchy. It's a little unsettled compared to, I think, a couple years ago, where the Porsche was kind of the best all-around GTE GT3 car.
And the weird thing is, too, a lot of drivers say that this is pound for pound the most equal car that you have on the service to the real deals. Wickham goes 42.742. That is going to be good enough for 21st fastest. Actually, I think it was just one lap. Let's see here. No, that was his first flyer, so we'll see what he can do, Zachary. Beige 23rd quick, as he's trying to get that Porsche up through its paces out of Tamburello and setting up for Variante Villeneuve.
This would be a track I think that the Porsches would like. You know, you have that mid-engine car. It's tight. There's a lot of technical turns. Again, you know, having all these cars in GT3, you get the luxury of having a lot of different manufacturers. But one we're not seeing is the Lamborghini, which I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have in this series. But I feel like a Lamborghini around Imola would also be a fun car to watch.
It's a prodigal home, so I mean, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yes, I am surprised as well as you are. But let's see what Beige can do. Is he's trying to best a 43.706. Last time by a 44.689, working out of Aqua Minerale, now headed towards Variante Alta. Look at that Porsche just jump through the curbs as he's trying to get a quick time, to say the least.
And this is such a tricky braking zone because it's slightly downhill and you got these double apex corners, and this sets you up for that long run down to the front straightaway. So you need to nail it, and it looks like pretty good. A little tail happy on the way out, but not too bad.
Yep, no, not too bad at all as Beige comes down the stretch. He'll trip the switch here in just a little bit. What will be a 43.660. So a little bit faster than his previous time, but he's not going to improve upon his position. So rolling off 23rd will be the 27 of Zachary Beige. Here's Travel Eich in the number 717 McLaren, working his way out of Piratella, now setting up for Aqua Minerale. So he was working on Aqua Minerale into Variante Alta. McLaren looking pretty good, 15th fastest so far with a 42.780. As man, look at these slow-mo shots from Ramiro.
I think a big key for everyone is how much curb are you going to want to take through a lot of these corners. They come at you fast, and in some cases you need to take that curb in order to improve your lap time.
Well, and that too, especially through the Variante Alta, you don't want to grab too much curb because that's really going to slow you down heading into Ravazza. Across the line, 43.718, good enough to improve his time, not necessarily his position. As Trevor Eich, the driver out of the United States, working his way around, the Pro Ben class driver decides to just put it right into the gravel trap as Garrett Wickham trying to see if he can improve upon his 21st position in that 555.
I think the tough part is too, like how scrutinous is the qualifying, and how many X's can you get going over? Because if you get like a 1X or a 2, like going over a curb or something like that, then your lap time is not really useful for you.
Well, even a 0X, you think about it this way, you know, 0X and your lap time is basically null and void. Here comes Scott Andrews. Let's see what he can do in his flyer, the 333, working his way into Ravazza for the first time at flying pace here in qualifying. About a minute and 3/4 left to go through Apex number 1, now setting up for Apex number 2. Off that final corner, going to hit the kink here just past pit end, and let's see what Andrews can do. One of the names and faces here as the beneficiary comes across the line, 43.916. That is going to be good enough for 26th fastest.
Hey, Sector 2 time was pretty good. I think Sector 3 is where I think some of these guys are losing a bit of time, that double apex towards the end there. And again, it also depends on the cars, because some of these cars are stronger in different parts of the circuit than others. Like that McLaren has a lot of downforce, so those higher speed corners, it's going to be good. But the Porsche, since it's a good middle of the road car, it's going to be kind of even everywhere.
Of course, the Garrett Wickham taking all of his attempted laps here, but we'll see how much longer he stays. I think he's going to run the clock down as trying to get out there, get some final practice, and that's actually going to be time here on this session. So 35 cars have qualified. Let's take a look at our field. Justin Knoll and Justin Bissett make up row 1. Row 2, Mitch Herrick and Joshua Muir. Row 3, Nolan Uke and Nick Batista in that BMW. Peter Heitzman and Marco Nairano make up row 4. Row 5, Elias Roman, Evan Kerr. Row 6, Chance Sheffield and Brandon Mateo. On to row 7, Louis Rios and Keeman Lackney. Row 8, Trevor H and XL Carballo. Stephen Reyna and Chandler Baker make up row 9. To take a look at row number 10, it's Michael Huggins and Cam Jordan. Row 11, Garrett Wickham and Nathan Rondon. To row 12 is Zachary Page and Damian Castro. Alongside each other in row 13, it's Glenn Jacobs and Scott Andrews. Row 14, Devin Anderson and Matt Duraco. Row 15, Brian Rodriguez and Ray Richardson in the Happy Dog Racing Porsche. And your last few rows, Sean Bramer, Raymond Sampson in row 16. Row 17, Nicholas Peck and Casey Sobel. And rounding out your qualifiers, Kenny Gutierrez at number 31, Team KGBMW. It's not a full pace lap, but still some ideal conditions here. 67 degrees Fahrenheit for ambient temperature, track temperature 69 degrees, low humidity. And by the way, if you're looking for Celsius, 19 degrees ambient, 21 degrees track temperature.
Yeah, so it's not going to be too hot, not going to be too, much on the tires. You're going to have plenty of grip throughout the race, so don't have to worry about overcooking it at any points in the race.
It'll be a 45-minute jaunt down through the Italian countryside as the pace car rolls off, and so does the field. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out here. Jonathan, you're part of race number 1. What do you think we're going to see here?
I think early on we're going to see a lot of people try and be conservative and try and give each other plenty of space throughout, the lap. We have 45 minutes, especially since there's 4 different classes. You're not really racing some of the guys next to you, so I think everyone's going to try and feel it out for a little bit, and then once we get some groupings together, once some of the classes start finding each other, then I think we're going to see some racing towards the final 20 minutes.
So we'll see how the drivers handle this opening stint, and you got to hold your breath down the run into Tamburello, because a lot of these drivers, you got to funnel in, you go wide coming around turn 1, and then once you get to Tamburello, it kind of squeezes really nice and tight as they work their way through that first chicane. The BMW pace car making its way into Rivazza for the final time as the field nice and paired up around those final 2 corners. It's Justin Knoll and Justin Bissett on the front row. Behind them, capitalized, should be Mitch Herrick and Joshua Muir should something go wrong. Either way, lots of very fast cars making their way through. The pace car pulls off into pit road as they will retire for the day. It's the Battle of Justins on row 1 as they work their way around turn 19 for the final time at this speed. Glad to have you with us on Race Spot TV as we are set to go green for 45 minutes here at Imola. And you saw that Knoll got a good jump there on Bissett. Almost caught him sleeping there as they worked their way side by side out of 1. Now setting up for the Tamburello chicane. And so far so good. 2-3 wide at the back as we zoom out, and 1 car going just a little off and right into the gravel trap. A lot cleaner start than I thought was going to be, but then again, we still got to get through Villeneuve and Tosa. Now Villeneuve awaits single file for the most part, and I think that Jonathan right now, they may make it through Tosa unscathed as they all start to bunch up, and maybe a couple cars going side by side, but nonetheless, so far so good.
I saw Devin Anderson right into the wall. That's going to be a lengthy repair. Don't know if he got tagged or just lost a little bit of control under braking, but that's going to be a lengthy repair for the 2 machine.
Yeah, so that was our problem. Glenn Jacobs gets a mechanical black flag, so he will have to come across that. Justin Bissett also falling through the order. What's going on with the 442? That's not good. He's falling through as if he's pulled off or something, and he had a spin right there. Oh, that's a big one as he worked through Aqua Minerale, and now he's going to have to climb his way all the way through. And this is about the point when strategy is going to have to come into play, because one mistake like that and you're really going to have to make your way through up to the front. Now through Ravazza for the first time, as for the most part, we're all single file. You see Nolan Uke sitting back there in 4th place overall, but it's all Justin Hull all the time. He's opened up a 2.2-second lead on Herrick and the rest of the field on lap 1 alone.
I mean, how much of that checkup from seeing that 4.42 spin for these back guys did they have to do? They opened up that gap even further, because that was a tough spin for the 4.42.
Cameron Lackney, I should say, making his way through the Tamburello chicane. You're on board with him as the 11th place driver tries to chase down Mateo and Kerr for overall position. Now also, that's also a battle for position in the Pro Ben class, as you've got Mateo and Lackney both in the Pro Ben class right there.
Yeah, what's so interesting is we have the 4 classes, but like there's nothing separating them in terms of machinery. Like they're all GT3 machinery, so you're gonna have these weird overall battles or podium battles within the field. So there's gonna be a lot more that comes into play, like the other class traffic, you know, the dirty air coming off of other cars, something like that. So it's gonna be interesting to how you really set up that move to get that class lead.
Side by side for position, you see Nolan Uke make his way into 2nd. Here's Casey Sobel in that Corvette, a very ill-handling Corvette it looks like, and just going to make the dive into Tamburello and take the jumper on Kenny Gutierrez. Gutierrez with a little bit of contact. No harm, no fouls. He's able to get going, but man, that's just one bad thing after another right there.
I think Gutierrez was trying to get his bearings straight, and the Corvette, you know, after hopping the curve, spin around, and we got another spinner. Light contact into the wall. Can't see who that was. That might have been Naranjo in the 47.
Yeah, that's Naranjo in the 47. The Ferrari comes across pit road and able to get through. I think the left front's just a little bit low, as we're on board with Justin Bissett. Oh! Unlike your car just sliding through the Tamburello chicane and just shedding parts just to shed parts. It's that wonderful Corvette ingenuity.
It's producing weight. It's producing weight. It's helping.
Okay, that's fair. Yep. As now the dust, I would say the dust is settling here, but a lot of dust getting picked up as a lot of drivers making their way through the gravel traps. There is the 99 of Elias Roman. Right now, your pro class driver leader, as he is trying to hold off Peter Hitzman. That's for the 6th place overall. Not necessarily a class battle that Roman's going to have to worry about, because you take a look at how far back the next closest pro car is. That's Justin Bissett, who's 13th overall. While we've seen these two battle tooth and nail, I would not be surprised near the end of the race to see Bissett end up back up towards Elias here.
There's also kind of a weird thing with Imola. Like you get these groups of like there's one car that's a bit, you know, slower than the other, so everyone's kind of nose to tail. And this 2-car, again, just a little bit wide. I think that's a lot of the dust. There's not much room to run off the track here either, so you got to really be careful.
Yep. Yeah, Devin Anderson making contact with Wall. Michael Huggins. See how his night ends up going from bad to worse. So just a spin and go, no harm, no foul. Gutierrez getting the meatball flag, and he'll have to come in and take care of that within the next couple of laps. So Huggins with a quick spin and go as he makes his way into Piartella. But having Kerr and Hitzman really in a tight battle here. That's for 4th in class. But this is Herrick and Muir battling for 3rd overall, and that's also for the lead in the open class as they work their way through Tosa once again going uphill. It's Mustang over McLaren, American Brute over English Genuity, as Ray Richardson runs into some problems as well. He hits those sausage curbs. Hello, that's Air Porsche.
I didn't know Porsche made planes.
Well, you know, they made tractors, they made, you know, cars, and why not go for planes?
These sausage curves are almost more effective than an airport runway sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're completely right. Well, let's take a look here at this battle for position right now, still with Herrick and Muir. And if these two keep battling, would not be surprised to see Nick Batista enter his BMW into the conversation, as Herrick and Muir kind of held up a little bit by Nolan Uke. And Uke, Pro Ben driver, still sitting in second place, but he's sitting 5.7 seconds back to Justin Knoll. That's a pretty hefty lead here with 38 minutes left to go in this race.
Yeah, Noel's just on rails right now. I think this must be a favorite track of his to come to. But I think Yuka's also just taking his time, conserving himself, understanding that the three guys behind him aren't in class, so just keeping it clean. So we have a Mercedes finding a new adventure.
Well, it's Hitzman. You know, he's holding off Evan Kerr right now for position. As you see, you've got Kerr, Lackney, and Mateo not too far away from there as they work their way through the Tamburello chicane. And that's what makes this track so interesting. Yes, you know, it's punctuated by chicanes, and there's a reason why it's punctuated by chicanes, but I think it makes the GT racing just that much better. And that's nothing knocking any of the open wheel series that come here. I just think that the GTs are a little bit better suited for Imola than Formula cars right now in this era.
Oh yeah, because they can take the curbs a lot more aggressively. I think they can stay side by side in some of these corners a little bit easier compared to the open wheel cars. Because the open wheel cars, you're going through Aqua Rally, you're going through toast, and you're kind of gritting your teeth as you're driving. But in these GT3 cars, I think it's also an easier circuit to learn into GT3 because it's a bit more forgiving. I think the open wheel, even on a single lap, like it's difficult to really nail it down.
Yeah, getting a perfect lap here at Imola just requires so much might, so much strength that you got to be a super driver. Heck, I would not. I would even say some of the platinum class drivers in FIA still would not be able to put down a perfect lap each and every lap. Maybe a perfect sector per lap, but a perfect lap here is just absolutely tough to obtain. As Hitzman trying to hold off. Kerr goes to the inside, going into Tamburello. He gets a position. Thought Lackney was going to go inside there, did not. So they're going to go nose to tail once again. And Kerr just says, you know what, I'm done sitting back here. I want to get up to Roman.
And that was set up coming out of Rivazza too. Like, you got a good exit, you get that slipstream, get the power down, because the Porsche, like a little bit, not as good in a straight line as the Mercedes, but in that toe and in the braking, that was a well-executed move there.
No, it really was, and it was a textbook pass. As you see Hitzman going back at Kerr now as they work their way through the long straightaway, through the turn 9, turn 10 complex of Piratella as they work their way downhill into Aqua Minerale, and Lackney getting even closer to Hitzman. I think the longer these two go on, that Lackney's really going to start to get inside this battle, and that's not what Kerr or Hitzman want, because it's that would enter in an out-of-class car. By the way, what did I say a while ago? Watch out for Bissett. He might be closing in. He's now in the top 10.
That BMW is quick, and I think it's going to find Lackney soon, because I think he's going to be seeing him in his mirrors in a second. But like, the good news is for Lackney is that he doesn't have a class made around him. I think to distract him, this is a good time to just kind of settle in, get in a rhythm. He might go for a move here if he has enough straight line speed.
He's really drafted in right there. That McLaren all over the back of the Mercedes, trying to pop inside, outside, side by side, going around the outside. Nice defensive move there off of Hitzman. He said, you know what, if you want to pass me, you're going to have to go offline and do it, because I'm not giving you that racing line around Tamburello once again. And Lackney just trying to be a pain in Hitzman's backside, but Hitzman really using that Mercedes quite wide. And oh, speaking of wide, Bissett takes a couple of wheels off as he tries to close in on Lackney.
There's probably multiple red and yellow flags out on the track for the gravel that is being kicked up, because you could just see this dust out of the first few corners through Tamburello just every single time we go by. Yeah,
that whole Tamburello, Villeneuve, those exits there, pretty decently sketchy as they work their way through the rest of the race. And of course, with the newer iRacing models, it takes that into consideration. So then the corner exits get a little bit more slippier, and then you have drivers making mistakes where they don't normally wouldn't make any.
Case in point. Oh, just a little too much curb, and ooh, that was actually a good evasive maneuver there by Ryan Castro, unable to get back on the track safely, unfortunately, so had to take a moment to catch his breath, but that could have been disastrous for both of those two.
Yeah, I was going to say that's almost target fixation, but that's great evasive action. Sometimes you just got to take that into consideration and just go off course when you need to. Around Tamburello, you see now how much of a gap Kerr is growing to Hitzman right there for the fourth place in class, seventh place overall, as now Hitzman not using those curbs as much as Kerr is and trying to close in ever so slightly. Overlapping still that annoying little fly in the background, to where if one of these drivers makes a mistake that McLaren's going to pounce. But here comes Hitzman. He's taking a look to the inside, and you go side by side, thinks better of it. Discretion, the better part of valor, making his way around. Decide that, 8's better than 4, but 4 is better than none.
Mike need to check up a little bit there too, because like a failed passing attempt here, it just costs you so much time, because then you're out of position for the next corner. They come at you so fast. There's no long straights to get your bearings. So I think wisely backed out of it, and then gets on the power a little bit early. We might have another move into Ravazza.
I wouldn't be surprised, because Hitzman is in the right position to make it, and indeed he gets a good run. He's going to get back in the fourth in class, so move the Mercedes up to 7th, Porsche back to 8th, and the McLaren still sitting back there in 9th, but look who's also closed up to the back of that train. It's Justin Bissett in the BMW. After the early race woes, he's slowly climbing his way up through the front. Do not be surprised in the next couple laps if he decides, you know what, I'm going to pounce on all 3. You also have a good battle for 16th place between Zachary Beige, Marco Narnio, and Camden Jordan.
All 3 in different classes are all kind of like trying to race their own race and stay out of each other's way, but still make good lap time right here. I think that 4-car battle might become a 6-car battle too, because I think Bissett is bringing Mateo and Rios into the picture as well. You can see those 2 cars behind. That's a close move into Tosa.
That was a very close move, and now you start to see Bissett trying to close in on Kerr, who's lost that position. And he's going to pounce right here into that corner. He's going to do something that Hitzman didn't do, and he's going to shove him off into the runoff area. So move Bissett up to 9th place. And the climb towards the front is coming ever so slightly, as one of the McLarens goes just a little bit wide. I think that's going to be Mateo who goes wide, and he's going to go down into 12th place. But still, he's going to be tailing Charlie in the popcorn position, trying to see if he can make some sort of move should somebody go one wheel or multiple off.
It's always a rough part when you're in that big fight right there, and then you kind of misjudge your braking point just because you're so focused on the cars right ahead of you to ensure you're not running into the back of them, and it's oh, well, I missed my braking point. It's like Mura's trying to get around you for this 2nd overall, as Justin Noel is kind of checked out, continues to set fast lap times.
Yeah, at this point, Noel's thinking that he's in Monza right now, because the rest of the field here at Imola, because of how much of a big gap that he has, 7 seconds with a half hour into this race, as they work their way around Villeneuve down into Tosa. Let's see if the McLaren has a good run on the Porsche down the straightaway, or if it's going to be the Porsche getting the better of the 2. And yeah, you get the better of the 2, but Muir is hanging there tight. So while the pass may not happen this lap, it's going to happen sometime down the road.
Yeah, and this is a strategic kind of pass. You want to put a classmate in between yourself and someone else. That way you can save it. As we have a little bit of contact between the 98, and I couldn't see who was on his inside. But again, it's just so tight around here.
It is, and it was two cars fighting for one position. That, you know, it happens sometimes. As now Muir closes in ever so slightly less than a car length onto Nolan Hugh as they are closing in on slower traffic here in just a little bit down into the final couple of quarters. Peter Hitzman now having to hold off the McLaren of Cayman Lackney down in seventh place as they also work their way through the final couple of quarters, and they're also having to deal with some slower traffic nonetheless as pit stops have begun. Brian Rodriguez into the pits right now, and would not be surprised to see some of these cars who are in packs like right now think, you know what, maybe if I pit now I can go the rest of the distance.
I think the biggest problem if you pit now and trying to go distance is that everyone's kind of spread out. There is a lot of field spread now, so there's going to be some traffic as Lackney's able to get the move done. So now maybe he can try and get a few clean laps, get some clean track ahead of him. But there's just these little packs. Like there's really there's like 3 or 4 guys by themselves, but everyone else is in these little groups throughout the track, and that was almost a big move.
As once again, you see, Bissett makes his way up to 8th now with Lackney getting in. So Lackney pounced on Hitzman, and Hitzman got pounced again on Bissett. So we'll see how that works here in the next couple of laps because Bissett, he's a man on a mission. He fell back. He's now down 6 spots from his grid qualifying position, so he really wants to improve on this. Ryan Castro into the pits, and oh man, this group here is absolutely fantastic. Here comes Bissett on the inside of Lackney as he tries to work his way around slower traffic. Move Bissett up to 7th place. Talk about using your resources and knowing where to make your move. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't tell who that was trying to get out of the way there, but just try and get out of the way and stay out of the battle and not impact it too much. And that's, I think, going to be the story of the race going forward is just everyone at different points of the track that may not be on your same lap as you. How do you navigate that? And that was a textbook move by Bissett. Now he's still 7 seconds though behind his class leader.
So down to the front straightaway as Hitzman just trying to salvage what he can over Evan Kerr in a worse position, falling back down to 10th where he qualified. Hitzman with a fall back 2 spots from his qualifying session. But man, you talk about Bissett striking while the iron's hot. He sets his sights on Nick Batista, who is about 6 seconds up the road. But if anybody's going to be able to catch Batista, it's going to be Bissett there in that BMW. There's that group once again as they work their way around. Bissett trying to get around some slower traffic. And he's able to do it with ease, but he's bringing Cayman Lackney with him as Sean Bramer now makes his entrance into the pits. Here's my question to you is that slower traffic, the 414, decides to just go off into the gravel, let the faster traffic go through. When do you anticipate these drivers coming in? Do they in the front of this pack? I think they're going to wait as long as they can. But if you're in the middle of this pack, do you think, well, you know what, now's the right time?
I think it all depends on how much you're willing to save towards the end of the race, like how much time you can gain or lose on another driver. So you have to also think of that strategy sense of I can undercut someone and come out ahead of them through the cycle, or I can, leave it to the last minute and just put a quick splash of fuel in. I think it just kind of depends on how you set yourself up for the race. I think that pack around you is, like, I don't want to say it's negligible, but I think like if you stick to your original plan, I think that's going to be the better way to go about things.
Nobody in this pack deciding to answer the call. Justin Noel with an 8.8 second lead, so trying to close in on that 9-second lead over Nolan Uke, Joshua Muir, and Mitch Herrick. Uke, Muir, and Herrick all within a batch of one another as they work their way out of Tosa and up the straightaway. Muir just being a thorn in the side once again of Nolan Uke. Again, that's not for a class battle there. The Infinite Racing driver with the McLaren in the open class, he's he's given everything he can to Nolan Yuke.
I think he wants to get that 33 in between him. I think, like, at least someone in between him and the 33. I think that's going to be the plan. You know, because you want to have a buffer, so that way if that Mustang comes back at him, he has one more car to go through to go to that class lead.
No, very, very solid proposition there, and I would not be surprised to see that happen sooner rather than later, in spite of Herrick being about 2 seconds behind Joshua Muir right now. So not too much of a battle for that position in the lead in the open class. There's Marco Narniel as are those the trash pandas I see there from Random Vandals? That's fantastic.
I love also some of the unique paint schemes we're getting, the patriotic military schemes, but also like having a little bit of fun. I feel like that's me sometimes late at night at the fixed IndyCar series. That's me behind the wheel.
Ramiro, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this the series where somebody had a Dollywood painted Corvette in the GT class? He's not answering. I think this was the class, which is absolutely hilarious. But what's not hilarious is how good this battle is between Yuke and Muir. We know that Nolan Yuke's a very good front runner. Obviously, when Justin Noel is not, slicing and dicing his way through traffic, but Yuke doing the best he can to try and keep that McLaren behind him, which we both know is easier said than done, especially with the BOP of the McLaren and the Porsche here in iRacing.
Yeah, and I think there might just be also a mutual understanding of, hey, like, this is for overall position, for pride, like, we're okay where we are in our class position. It also could just be Yuke, like, just being a little bit conservative more with his time than Muir is. So I think there could be a different factors, but I know the McLaren in some of these longer corners looks better than the Porsche.
Yeah, that's very fair, as you see Ryan Castro back into the pits. So about 20 minutes left to go in this race, and Yuke's decided, talk about a juke out of Yuke. I thought he was going to go pit, and he thought, nah, we'll go one more lap.
Must have been doing the math in his head and like, wait, no, hang on, one more.
Well, and of course, too, how many of these guys have those like the spreadsheets, the calculations? Okay, I can pit here, I can pit there. Batista, the first of the top 10 runners to come into the pits. So I wouldn't be surprised if he looked at that, thought, let's try for one more lap. We'll see if we can get Muir in. But I'm also thinking he used that as a strategy. If I'm going to pit, see if Muir pits. Muir didn't go in, and thankfully Yuke was able to come back out onto the circuit just before he crossed the line. Lackney Castro also coming into the pits. Here comes Muir to the inside of Yuke, and that almost was a gamble lost.
You gave him as much room as he could have, seeing that the McLaren feels like is in a bit more of a hurry than the Porsche right now. And I think also knowing that, like, you might be coming in at the end of this lap, and you're just like, well, what if I just get in front of you now? So I don't have any shenanigans coming into the pits.
15.6 to stop out of Castro. You see him coming down off of pit road. Let's keep an eye on these two as they work their way into Variante Alta, down towards Ravazza. Huggins off and on the jacks, 15.8 seconds out of the Corvette as he works his way down pit road. It's a very long pit road. Obviously not the longest in the service, but with the kink, it seems oh so long. Now we see if Yuke decides to call time on this stint. He comes down, and he is not going to call time on this stint, so I think Yuke is going to run her down to the bare bones.
I mean, you do get that advantage of running with lower fuel, so getting a little bit more speed out of the car, especially the Porsche being one of the lighter GT3 cars. There's a bit more of an advantage for that. Also, maybe he's also just thinking of, like, where do I put myself in terms of space? Because everyone's been spending about 40-ish seconds on pit road. 40 seconds behind him, there's a hornet's nest of cars. So I think he's trying to find the best place to pit, and maybe now lets Muir by, signaling that he's going to come in at the end of this lap.
Yeah, that could be a very good signal, as he just basically did not fight that at all. It's been Rondon, Beish all coming into the pit, so would not be surprised if this is the lap. Your top 8 decide to all pit at the same time. And a double-digit lead for Justin Noel is just under 19 minutes left to go in this race. Still, a lot of great racing left to go here, as we're seeing a lot of great battles up and down the field, up and down the grid, basically. And now they set themselves up for Variante Alta once again. And right behind them is Mitch Herrick. He is closing in ever so slightly, but I don't think it's enough to try and make anything. If there's going to be a pass, it's going to be one of these guys staying out and somebody else staying going into the pits, as now Muir's opened up about a 1 second gap already. So he felt like he was a little handcuffed in that McLaren, and there goes Nolan Uke, as we predicted, into the pits for his one and only.
And now, getting that gap to Herrick, I think, is going to be key for Muir. That is, again, that's a class battle for the win, and Uke trying to just conserve the podium here. I don't think we have enough time. It's 10 seconds in 17 minutes is an awful lot of time to make up on Justin Noel. And Noel's going to have to come into the pit as well soon.
That's interesting to note. Your top 5 have not pitted yet, as let's see who else has not answered the call. Really, everybody outside of the top 5 has come into pit now. We'll see if somebody decides they're going to do it on a no-stop strategy. But the way that these drivers have been running all race, they're better off coming in, getting a fast out lap, getting a fast in lap, and just dealing with the consequences of a pit stop as one car goes way wide. That's the 555 going off once again. That's Garrett Wickham. Wickham falls in line. There's your leader right there. The Eclipse competition number 15 of Justin Noel, the Ferrari, making his way around Variante Alta down into Rivazza, as Peter Hitzman going through the field. Louis Rios falling down into 10th place. And Gaiman Lackney coming up with them. Somebody just lost a front bumper. But still, everybody presses on. Let's see if our leader is going to come into the pits. And indeed, he is going to call time on this session. The 15 is in.
I think he wanted to... The optimal time, I think, would have been last lap, but he ran his best one of 40.8 last time, or the time before that. So, optimal time, I think, to get the 15 out of that hornet's nest fighting for position.
That's going to move Muir to the top of the time charts, as it does Bissett come in, as Roman came in as well. If you're Bissett, you're basically going to stay out as long as you can, kind of build that gap just a little bit longer, as Bissett indeed does stay out. So he's going to get 3rd overall for the time being. And let's see if how big of a gap he can build between he and Elias Roman, as Roman is into his pit stall right now. And Noel in and out, 13.8 seconds out of the Ferrari. Let's see what Roman can do. 14.4 out of the number 99.
And 15 comes out in a really good gap. There's not a lot of cars over each other. There's not a lot of passing going on. And let's see if the 99 can get a similar gap here going into turn 1. Not too much traffic ahead, so this is a good time to rattle off some quick laps.
Get out there and start warming those tires pretty quick. You got less than 15 minutes to go in this race. So through Villeneuve into Tosa. That is Elias Roman, as now he's got to run fast lap after fast lap to kind of go for the overcut for Justin Bissett. Can Bissett use the undercut to his advantage? Both of these are very talented drivers, but I think that Roman's going to come out ahead, because the delta between the two is just too great for Bissett to try and go for any sort of overcut.
It also depends on how long he spends in the box. Again, long pit lane here. Most guys are spending 40 to 42 seconds in there, so you need a really big gap, as here comes the BMW in.
See what Bissett does as he makes his way down the long pit road. With just less than 14 minutes left to go in this race, he gets into his box. And we're seeing that Muir and Herrick with a 13.5, 13.6. So that's probably what we're looking at right now for in terms of the pit stop time. And yeah, Yuke just goes around Bissett, so Yuke goes back into the lead. Let's see if Roman closes in 13.9. Yeah, there goes Roman. So Roman takes the pro class lead once again. 13.9, not a bad pit stop, but that mistake on lap 1 really hurt Bissett as now Batista goes around.
And now it's a 7-second gap, and you have a different class runner in between you. That saved it. Okay, there was a Porsche in the background that nearly lost it. But I think for Bissett, it's just trying to maintain your second in class at the moment. I think looks like the nearest other pro driver is a bit further down.
Oh, Ray Richardson into the tire barriers. Of course, sometimes that front end wants to see what the back end's the back wants to see what the front end's looking at. I almost screw that one up big time. Either way, still Elias Roman with a good Ray Richardson's race almost ended right there as that McLaren probably saw the life flash before his eyes. And man, what a save right there.
That McLaren might need to come back into the pits for a change of pants and tires.
Code Brown. Still looking at Elias Roman. He's got about a 9-second gap between he and Bissett, 8.4 seconds. Yeah, it's smooth sailing for Roman. He doesn't need to push that hard because depending on how hard, even if he does push hard, still not going to be enough time for Bissett to close in on him as well. But with about less than 12 minutes left to go in this race, Justin Noel, if you thought that it was impossible for him to gap the rest of the field even larger after the pit stop, yeah, he's got a 12-second lead over Joshua Muir. Mitch Herrick sits there in third place. Nolan Yuke in fourth, fifth to Elias Roman. Your other class leaders include Cayman Lackney. He is your beneficiary leader. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got all 4 class leaders in the top 10.
Like second through 10th, like they're all very similar lap times, very similar pace. It is just that 15 car for whatever reason is just on rails. That Ferrari is obviously at home in Italy and is driving like it's at home.
Yeah, that's not too much of a surprise there as Opatek comes into the pits. I don't think that's his. I think that's his second pit stop right there. As I'll scroll down and yeah, Opatek back into the pits for another pit stop. This time 11.3 seconds.
I want to say he pitted fairly early on as if he had a problem or had some damage. I think there's another runner. I think the 2 car that had a bit of an off earlier that might be on a similar strategy of like come back into the box.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's got to be what happened right there. As Nolan Yuke now marches his way up to the. But the rest of this field working their way through Ravazza as Peter Hitzman trying to see if he can put another car closer to Nick Batista, and that right there actually is going to be the battle for third place in class if he can get around Lackney, which we know is easier said than done because we know the speed that McLaren has, especially down the straightaways.
Yeah, but Hitzman's going to have a 7-second gap to make up for this. Porsche's, I believe, 1 lap down ahead of him, but not like crazy off the pace. Woo, big slide. Save, I think, from disaster for everyone there.
Yeah, that's and like we mentioned, because of the newer iRacing model, it has those just creates the dust on the track, and you're going to see that slippage there. As Raymond Sampson is that victim coming through, and that back end just stepping out there on the Porsche, which we talked about it in the pre-race show. It is a back end happy vehicle.
It's one of those ones that, especially for newer GT3 drivers, I've seen a lot of chatter that it's not the newest friendly driver car to race. That's more of your Lamborghini and Ferrari. I think Yuka's gone around.
Yep, Nolan Hugh with a spin and go through Variante Alta, and he's lost his rear wing, so he's going to have to come in and get that fixed. That's going to be a race over for Uke, basically, when it comes to podium contention, unless he can run around the next 8 3/4 minutes with no rear wing. And yeah, he had to have done it on his own. We just got talking about how that back end likes to step out, and once again, it does. And it bites him even hard because he bit that sausage curbing just harder than he should have.
And I think it's the slightest touch too for the rear wing, which I think is probably going to be the most frustrating thing, is that he almost 3-point turned perfectly. It just happened to clip that wall, and that might be a longer repair time than Duke was hoping for.
All he would have had to do is do the Paul Tracy flick there, and he would have been able to get around, as now Bissett 10 seconds behind Elias Roman, but he is still trying to catch up to some slower traffic. Nick Batista sitting there third in the open class, not too far away there, so not too much of a consequence if Batista does get around Bissett, as Devin Anderson in and out of the pits, 2 laps down to fix some sort of damage here. But I don't think that Batista's probably going to race Bissett too much harder, because he knows that, this is just an out-of-class battle right here. And really, all 3 of these cars out of class is that McLaren's in the beneficiary class.
Yeah, I think qualifying kind of set us up for that, of like the classes were going to be a little bit divided and everyone's going to find their groupings and classes, but none of the classes have really found each other, which is really interesting, and I think has made this race a bit, I think, difficult for the drivers too to understand, like, and remember, like, who you're racing or who you're actually racing, as opposed to the other car ahead of you.
So still a bit of time left, and that McLaren moving out of the way, letting Bissett go through as they work their way out of Rivazza down the straightaway once again. And right behind them, you see the you see the Lackney-Hitzman-Rios battle. Rios sitting back there in 9th place overall, 2nd in the Pro Ben class. Still though, plenty of time to race here for overall glory, as not many classes have any consequence for the podium when it comes to racing here at Imola near the end of the race. I'm trying to look up and down. Also, highest climbers in this race so far. You've got Michael Mitchell Opatek up 13 spots in 23rd place. In 17th place, Sean Bramer, your highest climber of all the racers, up 14 spots. Damian Castro up 11 spots in 13th. Nathan Ronda in 12th place, up 10 spots so far.
And that's, around here, that's impressive, because I know we've had a few cars that have had an issue or two, but, just being up double-digit spots at a place that is notoriously hard to overtake, especially for some of these classes that, like the beneficiary class, that may not be as high rated as, say, the pro class.
Oh man, this is such a good battle here, as slower traffic really coming into play. It's a two-way tango, as Bissett trying to open up a bigger gap between he and Batista. Again, that's not for in-class battle, that's for overall position. And Batista's having all sorts of problems getting around these 2 beneficiary drivers down the straightaway. And I think he's finally going to pick off one of them. And indeed he is. There's one down. Oh, no. Oh, these guys are giving him a lot of trouble. I know the Porsche right there, that's Ray Richardson. And I think, let me see if I can get a number there. That might be Stephen Raina in the 21, if I'm looking at this correctly. But yeah, it is Stephen Raina in the 21. So both of those drivers, they're veterans here, so they know that they can race, and they can be a thorn in someone's side real quickly.
I think Batista also understands that those 2 are fighting for position in class, despite being 1 lap behind him, and he is, at least at the moment, well clear of Hitzman, where he can afford to lift and let them kind of sort themselves out.
So 3 seconds Batista's lost to Bissett, and he still has to get around Ray Richardson, which, as we know, is going to be easier said than done, though, with that wiggle that Richardson just had coming out of Alta. I have a feeling that's going to be pretty easy to get down to Ravazza with a little bit of extra push, extra momentum, to say the least. And no, not going to make that happen this time by. And something we've got to watch out for is we've got to watch out for the clock. Where is Noel going to be in terms of the last lap? A little pop out to the outside as Batista is finally going to dispatch of the 95 of Ray Richardson, or will he? They're still side by side as they work their way through one, heading into Tamburello, and there he goes, makes easy work. So move Batista up just one position on track, but still in 6th place, as he's trying his best now to try and shake down Justin Bissett, which, by the way, that couple of tenths of a second advantage that Bissett had is now almost a half a second.
Those two still fighting hard behind. And here's your leader, Noel. This Ferrari's it's just looked at home. It's just been on rails. And I'm watching the times too. And it's just it's so impressive to see how consistent the times are, because it's 41-1, 41-1, 41-2. I think for a lot of guys, like, they're striving to find that consistency, and this is a good example of what it means to be consistent.
Down onto the straightaway once again, 2 laps to go, as we have not reached the time when the car will reach the last lap. So still plenty of time for Noel to come around and see what he can do, as Rios and Hitzman going through some battles there. Let's see if we can get to that battle for 7th place, as Rios falling down through the order. Not sure what happened there with the 10. I'm sure, oh, we got a spinner back there. That might be Luis Rios as he takes a spin. No, that's not. So that's Rios in the Mustang. So we have another spinner there through Tamburello. And, oh, man, things are getting a little spicy as Casey Sobel comes into the pits to fix some sort of damage. I'll see what happened there in just a little bit, but already drivers getting a little testy, to say the least.
This is our battle that we were watching earlier, and just did not know. I didn't think the 92 was there, and then one thing led to another, and I think everyone kind of ran into each other.
Yeah, that looked like it was a got in the vortex of danger right there. You really can't do that, as Justin Noel comes across a Variante Alta once again down towards Ravazza. So that was one of the issues we saw back there. And it's going to be interesting to see what the rest of them will be here, as Luis Rios falling all the way down to 13th overall. Mitchell Opatek coming up to 21st place, down off of Ravazza once again, and they'll come across the start-finish line and see the white flag. It'll be 1 lap to go for Justin Noel. An absolutely dominating performance out of the number 15 Ferrari as he comes down the stretch once again. His closest competitor is Brandon Mateo in 10th place. So really great showing out of the Pro Ben driver from Eclipse competition.
And it's going to help him in the standings. He came in 4th in out of 6 in the Pro Ben class, and this is going to push him up towards the top. So again, just a great performance, and hope like he smiles and thinks about, like, this is a really good and steady drive, especially getting through a lot of the traffic that may have been a little off the pace and not letting that trip him up.
Fatosa and through Biratella as he comes around once again for the final time, and it's like he's not been able to put a wheel wrong in the prodigal home of the Ferrari through Aqua Minerale once again. And man, that Ferrari just handling that section with ease. Got a couple of slower cars, but I don't think he's really going to challenge too much. He's got a 17-second lead over Joshua Muir, and this has got to be easily one of the most dominating performances I can remember by doing Opmo, as Elias Roman right now 3rd in class, third overall, I should say, your leader in the pro class. And Roman, no surprise here, he can get into anything and be fast. But Justin Noel, their driver in the Ferrari, your leader in the Pro Ben class, bobs and weaves a little bit, starts the celebration early. The checkered flag is out. Justin Knoll makes it round 2 here at Imola, flashes the lights for Enzo and Dino Ferrari, making both of them absolutely proud. Here's Joshua Muir coming off the final corner once again, and what a race for him in that McLaren. Down the front straightaway, he is your open winner. Elias Roman makes it another win here at Imola as he takes his Mercedes to the top in the Skunk Works Racing number 99. He is your winner. And there Cayman Lackney, the Green Mountain Motorsport McLaren. Tell you what, he's had such a good race. He had to battle with 2 quick cars in Hitzman and Kerr. Granted, they were out of class, but still made their way through. Down off of Ravazza, setting up for the final turn. Checkered flag is out. Your beneficiary winner tonight is Cayman Lackney.
Kerr was trying to drag race Hitzman to the line for that last podium spot in the open category. And just a little too much gravel at the end, unable to get it done.
What a finish, as you see Imola kind of wrapped around a whole city. So kind of neat to see the city really embrace such a historic racetrack as we watch the rest of the finishers make their way around the circuit, and we get set for the results here at Imola, as we saw some fantastic racing in 45 minutes of action. It's Justin Hull, your winner over Joshua Muir, Elias Roman, Mitch Herrick, and Justin Bissett round out your top 5. Nick Batista, Cayman Lackney, Peter Hitzman, Evan Kerr, and Brandon Mateo round out your top 10. All 4 class winners in the top 10 after 27 laps. That's Ron Narnano, Rios, Uke. Wonder what happened there with Rios as he fell back to 13th. Damian Castro, Zachary Bache, Sean Bramer, Cam Jordan, Garrett Wickham, and Michael Huggins rounding out your top 20. Mitchell Opatek, Chandler Baker, Matt Duraco, Chance Sheffield, Stephen Raina, Trevor Eich, Ray Richardson, Nicholas Peck, Raymond Sampson, and Casey Sobel in your top 30 there, 2 laps down. And rounding out the field of drivers who really didn't have good nights, Devin Anderson, Brian Rodriguez, Kenny Gutierrez, one of the last of the runners, as Ryan Castro, Scott Andrews, Excel Caraballo, and Glenn Jacobs end up in the garage for the night. Well, it's been an interesting race, to say the least, as we get ready to talk to some of our drivers. Let's talk to our overall winner, Justin Noel, as he is not in here. So let's grab Joshua Muir, as he is one of your class winners tonight at Imola. And we'll drag him in there. And Joshua, first of all, congratulations. Really didn't have anything for the leader, but to say the least, you had a distinct advantage in your class. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you so much.
Let's talk about Imola, as Justin Knoll obviously was one of the front, was out front early, but you ran that McLaren quite well.
Yeah, he has a absolutely alien pace, and I knew that was going to be a struggle, but it was more so trying to get that McLaren around the track, and with it being so technical, I played the car to the advantage of the track, really.
Which we both know is, is absolutely superb, because we saw a lot of the McLarens using that straight line speed to work their way around some of the other cars. But nonetheless, let's talk about your race, the strategy, and basically how you got to where you were.
Yeah, it starts off, honestly, with a lot of strong practice. With it being every other week, it gives me a lot of time to nitpick some of the harder turns, and the biggest thing with Imola is trying to keep it on track. Those off tracks margins are so tight, and once I kind of nailed a repeatable pace down, the next thing I can do is manage traffic and kind of pick my battles. I was caught up with Mitch for a while. Mitch ran a really good race, and kind of just work in the traffic, really.
And you talk about working the traffic, for the most part, it was trying your best to get up there and work your way around the slower traffic as well, because they were a dime a dozen, it seemed like.
Yeah, the being on lap traffic was, onesie twosie here and there. It was really dealing with the lap down traffic, and that's where I think a lot of the front runners had to pick their battles really going into a corner. Did I want to push it super hard, or did I want to really conserve it and not put the car in a bad position? I think all in all, even the lap down traffic did really good at just running their race, which is important. It's, we all run a race together. So
either way, congratulations on the class win. See you next time out. Anybody you want to thank?
yeah, thanks. I'm gonna shout out my family, my girl Jackie, for supporting me, American Veterans Motorcycle Club for allowing me to represent them in the series, and ESGI and all my friends I race with for pushing me to really be better.
Joshua Muir, your winner in class tonight. Congratulations, second place overall. And we will bring in our overall winner, Justin Noel. He's with Jonathan Berg.
Justin, it's Jonathan. You got a copy?
I do. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. That car looked like it was right at home. Obviously, the Ferrari in Italy. How did you kind of prepare going into this race?
Much practice. Lots and lots of practice. I've done maybe 400 or 500 laps of practice in the last week.
I know Joshua just said your pace was alien. Did you expect to be so far ahead of some of the others come the checkered flag?
I expected some of the others to be closer to me. I was a little slower than my pace when I was practicing, but I did not expect to be that far ahead.
And what was the biggest struggle for you over the race? You didn't have anyone breathing down your neck in terms of trying to fight for that class win, but there was lap traffic and there was that pit stop.
Yeah, the biggest struggle for me, especially at this track, is lap traffic. They can sometimes be unpredictable, and so you gotta be prepared for that and just getting through lap traffic.
Before you go, is there anybody you would like to thank?
Like, just thank you guys for doing the broadcast, and Opmo for bringing me in here and giving me the chance to race and have fun with this group.
Well, congratulations, Justin, on the win, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Justin Noel, your overall winner, I should say. Ramiro, can you remind me on who our next... Actually, no, let's bring in Elias Roman. I know he's our next class winner. Did I see... Well, Elias Roman has left us, so I think that brings in Cameron Lackney as our next class winner. Cameron, gotta say, you battled up through the field and made your way into a great battle near the bottom half of the top 10. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Whew, that was quite the race. That was really intense.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, you had a great battle with Peter Hitzman and Evan Kerr. And just before pit stops, you're able to get in between them. But after the pit stops, it seemed like, they were ahead of you, but you made your way through.
Yeah, I think with my pit stop strategy I was a little lower on fuel. So when I pit stopped, I had about an equal tank. So I knew my pace was going to be a little bit higher after that first flying lap out of the pits. And I definitely had the pace on them and had to make some bold moves. A little close, but everyone was incredibly respectful. And it was some fantastic hard racing. It was back and forth.
Well, we were talking about also how the tight conditions really made that tight racing so much better. How narrow did you have to make that McLaren to just make those passes?
Ooh, I found a few spots on the track I didn't know existed, but I made it work.
If it's pavement, it's still racetrack. Just remember that.
Exactly.
Congratulations on your finish. See you in a couple weeks' time. Anyone you want to thank?
Just thank you to the Opmo crew and everyone that organizes this, and shout out to John May, who couldn't be here tonight. Hope to see you at the next race, Melody.
All right, congratulations, Cameron. Great to see you out here. Let's go down pit road and talk to another driver who's up near the front. It's Brandon Mateo, and he's with Jonathan Berg.
Hey, how's it going?
Brandon, it was a little bit of an up and down kind of race for you. You were kind of in the hornet's nest in the mid part of the race. Like, talk us through that.
Yeah, so I think was looking at everyone's quality times, and we were separated by tenths. That middle part right there, probably 7 through 13, and kind of getting into the once we got past the third and fourth lap, which was a little bit hectic. I think you guys saw, like, it was a pretty tight pack for the 6 of us for quite a while until the pit stops. I had a couple mistakes and overshot. Aqua Minerale is a tough corner, carrying all that speed and then coming down to second, going downhill. So I had a couple off tracks there that extended that gap. I think Evan ended up in front of me for the like remainder of it after the pit stops, but I tried to be smart and hold on as long as I possibly could, so that my pit stop would be as short as possible. But it looks like Louis was just quicker than mine, and when he came out, he was able to split that traffic, and I ended up, essentially in the same spot.
Yeah, and walk us through kind of that traffic, especially like towards that middle part of the race, because it felt like, you mentioned in qualifying, a lot of you guys were very, very close in pace. So being grouped up together, like those 6 and 7 cars, had to be difficult to kind of fight through.
Oh yeah, and especially being at the back of it, if there was a few times that I felt like I had more momentum. This track is so tight, like if I could have passed one car, there's another car right there. So just, in order to kind of keep us all alive, I didn't want to take any dives, and figured I'd just stay in the draft until either we ran up on some slower traffic or somebody made a mistake, and eventually it ended up me making a mistake, and so I ended up with about a half a second gap for the remainder of the race after the pit stop. So I guess it was probably half a second to a second off of the back of Evan. But yeah, it was difficult. But the driving standards I thought were really, really good. There was of course a couple of mistakes like there always are, but one of the things that this league prides itself on is keeping it clean and keeping it fun, and I think we did a great job of that.
Yeah, most of the incidents that we saw were often just a single car. You got too much curb, you got too much of the gravel and around, so everyone, I think, kept it very clean, especially towards the front. Is there anyone you guys want to thank before you go?
Yeah, Operation Motorsport, I've been a beneficiary now for 5 years, and really what they do for the veteran community is really hard to put into words. So I've always want to shout out Opmo as an organization, and then of course all our admins that put together the league. They work hard, long hours to try to put this together, make it fun for everybody, and then of course you guys for putting together an amazing broadcast. We really do love it and appreciate it.
All right. Brandon, thank you for your time. We hope to see you in 2 weeks' time.
All right, see you guys then.
And of course, that race in 2 weeks' time here on Race Spot TV is going to be none other than Fuji. If you've ever wanted to run in Japan or watch a race in Japan, this is the one. It'll be 1,800 hours CST here on August 4th. And Jonathan, this has been an absolute pleasure, but thanks for filling in these past couple of weeks.
And thank you guys for having me. This was a great series to watch. Great action all up and down the track. And again, like, great to see all the different GT3 cars and just the different colors like flashing through the field. It was great to watch.
Of course, I'll slide over. Ewan O'Leary joins us back on his normal schedule. And what a fantastic race we saw here at Imola. Everybody jostling for position. And like we said, there's not that much of disrespectful racing because this is Operation eMotorsport, and they're here for one thing and one thing only, to have fun. Alongside Ramiro Augustine Cisneros and Jonathan Burke, my name is Jeremy Scott. Don't forget to keep it point forward, keep it between the ditches, and always keep it greasy side down. We'll see you next time here on Race Spot TV.